Chase is wide receiver. One.
Tell your grandma.
Joe Burrow. Tell your mom. Tell Bob. From accounting.
Tell your grandma. One. Javonte season.
It's throat punching season.
It's throat punching. It's throat punching.
It's throat punching season.
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Take a lap.
What is going on, good people? You are watching the Fantasy Football Show, and I'm your man, Smitty, and we're going to be breaking down a whole bunch of news and talk for 2022 fantasy football, new hire coaches. We're going to break it all down. Little Alvin Kamara stuff. We've talked about Alvin Kamara enough, and there's not really anything new development-wise on that, but we'll brush up on it just briefly. Tiny bit of quarterback movement stuff, some Tom Brady buzz, stuff like that. But good to see James here first in the building. Double A, triple A, quadruple A. Glad to have you. Tariq, what's up, pal? Kyle, Champs, the clan is here. We appreciate you being here. You guys rock. You make the show. You are the show. I work for you. And we're going to break down everything we can in the next 56 minutes and 56 seconds here on the Fantasy Football Show, your one-stop shop for fantasy football information, bold predictions, news, notes, everything you could think of. NFL related. We're not just fantasy. We talk about everything that's cooking in the NFL. What's up, RGB? Wesley in the house. Javonte, the like button, as Double A has just told you. So yeah, we'll get into Javonte. We'll get into some of the news we got here at the top, Goodell, stuff like that. But first, we'll talk about the coaching new hires and break that down briefly. There's a lot to talk about and absorb with this new hire breakdown here. Bears hire Matt Eberflus. We talked a little bit about this on the other show at the end of again, I think last night's show, I believe. But I wanted to break it down in a little more detail because we had like a minute and I broke it down real quickly. But Matt Eberflus is a decent hire for this club because of a couple things. One, it's interesting. Do we have two pieces of music playing at the same time? I don't know if we did or not. Sorry about that. It's an interesting hire because the dude's a defensive mind, okay? And DCs, when you hire a DC as a head coach, you run into a couple problems. One, if you don't get the head coach, the offensive coordinator position nailed down properly, it'll derail everything. But if you land an amazing OC and you let your OC do good work, Bill Belichick was a DC. Tomlin a DC, Harbaugh back in the day. Like this, there's a lot of successful defensive coordinator head coaches, but there's also, it's a little more delicate because you got to have, you're relying on two people to be able to get the offense going. And when you got a guy like Justin Fields, and you're worried about this guy developing and he's pretty much held back and you might have stunted some of his growth with this Nagy-led offense last year, you're running a little bit of a risk of a collapse and a complete setback if you don't get the right OC in place. Now, they hired this Getsy guy, and I believe him to be a pretty good hire. He looks solid, looks very, very capable in the quarterback house. So he's going to get that house in order. He's going to get, from what I gather, this guy's pretty good with like footwork and getting quarterbacks tooled. And I think that's what Fields could use. So it's a good move. It will all be dependent on this OC. I think Eberflus will get the 53 men in order. Like that's what you want out of a head coach. You want a commander. You want a guy that's going to get this team in line, create a culture. Nagy did not create a good culture. I have good faith that this is a good hire. I'm going to give this I would say a B plus score so far, with a lot of room for improvement to get into a very impressive score later. So very good job, Chicago. Broncos bringing in Nathaniel Hackett was a good move on a lot of fronts. One, guy comes from Green Bay. You know he's going to be able to potentially put in a pretty decent passing attack in place, or get one in place here. And you know he's going to try and address this quarterback situation. Now, everybody's saying that this is a fishing rod getting casted out for a Aaron Rodgers pull. And that probably is definitely an alluring thing. Like, Rodgers knows, hey, I've got this guy Hackett who I love. Rodgers has come out and said that he has nothing but respect for this guy. The whole team loves him. He's a very well-liked individual in this Green Bay environment. And so it's a good, attractive thing for Rodgers. Familiarity. He can walk right over. He knows what it's going to be like. He knows what the pecking order is going to be, or what he might be able to request and get. He knows that this is going to be a different situation than it could be if he was walking into a situation of unknowns, if you will. So definitely feel like it's a fantastic situation potentially for Green Bay. I'm sorry, for the Broncos to have a lifeline to an Aaron Rodgers trade. So very much like this hire, and I think it helps as I have Javonte on screen, and we can go there for a brief moment. I think it really helps Javonte a ton, because we want Javonte to be in a potent offense. I think Hackett has a real good chance and a real good desire to make this a very potent attack. And I think that if you see how Aaron Jones was used in Green Bay, there's a good chance you're going to see Javonte's receiving skills get utilized, and his elusiveness. And Aaron Jones might feel like an eternity ago that this guy was a top 3, top 4 potential running back. Even last year, when we did a mid-season mock draft, Aaron Jones went in the top 5. Now, he kind of didn't have the ending of the season to match that kind of value. And if we mock drafted at the end of last year, he probably went at like 10, 11, 12, 15, 20 for last season. Not this one we just played in 2020, I'm talking. So I guess 2 years ago now, 2 fantasy years ago. This last season, Aaron Jones dropped off, and he's looking pretty bad walking into 2022. Don't draft Aaron Jones. But the way that I believe Javonte is going to be utilized in the passing game excites me. And I think Hackett will make sure that happens. And I think that if Aaron Rodgers does come over to Denver, everyone's going to feel that way. So you have a decision on your hands in best ball drafts, in dynasty leagues, in current upcoming dynasty startups, in redraft leagues where you're crazy and you draft extremely early. You have a decision to make. Do you anticipate that Javonte will have an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson or a Deshaun Watson or at least a Tyler Huntley? Do you anticipate this and maybe ensure, don't reach, use ADP to your advantage, but ensure you get Javonte, making sure you maybe reach a tiny bit. Maybe you take him at the end of the first round where his ADP appears to be falling in the top of round 2. And I know a lot of people say in comments when I say Javonte, if Aaron Rodgers is in Denver, will be considered a top 3, top 4 overall lock in 2022 fantasy football. When I make that statement and that claim, I usually get a lot of fire emojis, a lot of broskies, a lot of brofists. I mean, all the great stuff, right? But about 1 out of every 15 messages, somebody tries to, I don't know, flex, whatever, and say, he's already there. He's already top 4. What are you talking about? I draft him 4. You don't have to draft him 4. His current ADP is in the 12 to 15 overall range, 11 to 15 overall. He might get taken as a bookend pick right now in redraft mocks. I know in Dynasty he would go higher, so if we're talking Dynasty, he would go higher. But I don't know that he'd go 3 or 4. I think he'd go more like 7, 8, 9, 10. In redraft, it's 12, 13, 14, 15 in that big range of picks there. This guy has top 3 to 4 overall potential in redraft, so you can imagine that I 100% feel that way in Dynasty. But in redraft, he has top 3 to 4 overall value if Aaron Rodgers, let's say, is in Denver in 2022. So, again, back to the question. What do you do now? If you're in a dynasty startup now, if you're in a best ball draft now, do you draft this man a little bit ahead of his top of the second round ADP value in anticipation that he lands a quarterback like A-Rod to hand him the football, to throw him the football, to get him in position downfield? Because part of it isn't just, okay, A-Rod, why does A-Rod get and provide Aaron Jones or the running backs the amount of touchdown production that they get? It's because Aaron Rodgers moves the football down the field, because Aaron Rodgers loves to throw to his running backs. Aaron Rodgers trusts his running backs. The running backs are an integral part of Aaron Rodgers' game plan. Like what Aaron Rodgers is doing, navigating checkdowns, like everything, it's all included. It's not like Josh Allen, who's phenomenal, and Singletary, to his credit, was scoring a lot of touchdowns, low yards per carry, but lots of touchdowns and looking pretty good. And the Buffalo Bills, the reason for that they had such good late success with some ups and downs was because they ran the ball and passed the ball. They had good balance. But Josh Allen's going to be more air attack to the wide receivers, and Aaron Rodgers could mix it up between it all. Now, part of it is that Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a lot of weapons before, and I'm not saying Denver has a whole bunch more receiving weapons than really Green Bay does when you weigh it all out, right? You got Adams, you got MVS, and you got some players, you know, that come in pop up Lazard, and then you have Aaron Jones. So you have some good weapons. I would venture to say that Javonte is a way better running back potential than Aaron Jones, although Aaron Jones in his prime was top 3, 4, 5 overall, so we can't discredit him. But Javonte's a bigger weapon, like a stronger, much more high ceiling type guy. So, but you could say, okay, replace Aaron Jones in his prime with Javonte. Let's call it a wash, even though I don't think it's a wash. Judy, Sutton, Fant is at best equal to what Rodgers had in Green Bay. But he'll have a defense. He'll have, I think, a team that will build around him the way he wants, a team that will go acquire talent if he wants it. They may even get a wide receiver. What if they brought in Adams? What if Adams doesn't get tagged? We don't know what's going to happen. What if a wide receiver, a high caliber wide receiver gets brought in? I'm not saying Ridley necessarily, because we don't even know what Ridley's going to be doing. But what if a wide receiver's brought in because A-Rod says, I want it? And so I'm excited. Will, appreciate you, Will. Javonte, to the moon. To the moon. And Nathaniel Hackett is a gateway to Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how it plays out. Watson and Denver, same feelings about Javonte. They all remain, because I think Watson would move the football. Watson would make this a dynamic offense. In some ways, Javonte could thrive more under the command of Watson because, especially dynasty-wise, he's younger. There's a lot of the legal issues we still worry about, though. Next up, the Giants bring in Brian Daboll, which this was a disaster. Everybody saw it play out. Bill Belichick grabbing his phone. He shouldn't even have a cell phone. He shouldn't have a smartphone. Bill Belichick should have a flip phone. Bill Belichick shouldn't use abbreviations for people either. I don't know if it was the same way on Bill's phone and Brian Flores' phone. It said BB or whatever. But Bill Belichick screwed this up. I don't think it was planted. A lot of people give Belichick a lot of credit, and they say Bill Belichick is a smart man. He would never, ever, ever have slipped up and sent this text message that he did. And if you guys forget what the message was, I think I have it on my computer here, but he basically botched the whole thing. Said congrats on the hire. I know they want to bring you in. He thought he was messaging Daboll, but he was actually sending a message to where is this? I know I got it somewhere. He was actually sending a message to Flores, who hadn't yet interviewed for the job, letting Flores know that Daboll already got it, thinking he was messaging Daboll, and just created a whole big mess. And that's what really opened the can of worms to everything. But Daboll is an interesting hire. I can't find it. I have it somewhere on here. Daboll is an interesting hire. And the bottom line is, I don't think this team is built well enough for Dable to have the success he'll need right away. Could Dable survive and bring in another quarterback? Because this guy could work on a quarterback like no other. Like, he has the potential to turn whatever quarterback he's given into a beast. But is Daniel Jones capable of being beast-like? I don't think so. Like, I won't rule it out, because what this man did with the mechanics of Josh Allen and all the people that hated Josh Allen, you know, your boy Smitty loved him. His rookie year, I called him the top 4 quarterback of the future. Like, probably one of the most understated bold prediction lands that I've had. In his rookie year, he will be a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. And he had like a really good rushing rookie year, but people didn't like the prediction even after a really solid rushing year, because he looked inconsistent. His throwing was off. He didn't look like the best quarterback gunslinger in the league. He looked like a young Lamar Jackson running around the field, breaking off long runs, but being a mediocre passer. He looked like he would never become, to a lot of people. I believed in this guy's cannon of an arm, but a lot of people said, oh, you know what? This guy's a good runner. He'll never be an elite passer. Dable, others helped mold this guy and fix his arm and mechanics. So very, very possible that this could happen with Daniel Jones to an extent, but what is the ceiling of that repair and molding and crafting of this guy? Can Daniel Jones be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? I suppose it's possible, but I don't know that I'm going to bet on it. And on top of that, offensive line. I know there's a lot of excitement around what's this? I'm blanking out on his name. The receiver for the Giants, the sophomore. What's his name? The head case. What's his name? I'm blanking out on his name. I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't know. I've had a long day. I can't even think of it right now. What's this guy's name? Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney. Thank you. Exciting wide receiver. Lots of talent. Okay. No one's second guessing this guy's raw ability, but injury-plagued little guy puts his body in vulnerable positions. Very, very injury, I would say, inviting. He invites injuries, the way he lands on his arms and the way he risks playing. And he's a head case kind of already, yelling and screaming at people, getting in a fight after a game, headbutting a staff member or coach or trainer. I didn't even get clarification on what role that person had, but they leaned over to talk to him. And he headbutted him on accident, but it was really, really hard. And the coach was like, "Ah!" And the guy, and then Tony, instead of being like, "You okay?" and showing concern, just gets even more irritated and storms off. Like, your head's in my way. And this guy he irks me. I don't know. I just can't envision Tony. Call that a weird bias, I guess. I don't know. But I like his talent, but I don't know. I don't see it playing out. It feels like it won't work out. You know what I mean? I get a gut instinct that Tony has the talent to be a top 12 wide receiver in the NFL. He kind of feels like he does. But I don't see it playing out for some odd reason. Josh McDaniels. So in a nutshell, Dable. I think Dable's good. The question will be and will remain is, can he turn things around in enough time and get the right people in place to not get fired before it all starts turning around? Because it's not turning around in 2022. And this is why Saquon Barkley is a big avoid for me in 2022 and really beyond, because the dude's no longer considered a spring chicken. The injuries have piled up. He's very injury prone. Okay, no matter how you want, you can't talk me out of that. He's an injury prone player moving forward. I don't like it. I don't like the value of Saquon right now. I feel like if he was to fall into like late third round, which won't happen, but if he did, I would start toying around with the idea. It's called line in the sand, baby. It's called line in the sand. And when you play this game, line in the sand, guess what happens? guess what happens? Eventually, everybody has value at some point. So if I say here that I don't like Barkley in round 1, heck no. I don't like Barkley in round 2, but at some point a line in the sand is there in round 3 where he's avoid, but flips into solid value that you would be okay with drafting. If he falls there, we'll have that conversation. And I'm letting you know up front, that's the wrong screen. What was that? I think that was a running back and wide. I don't know if that was an overall ranking or what we were doing there. That looks fun. We should go back to that. I don't know where the line in the sand is currently. And people need to understand that if I'm down on a player, and this is probably the most frustrating yet fun, because I like when people don't understand the content sometimes, because then I don't know, it has a feeling of like when you're misunderstood, you still feel like there's a lot of climbing to do, and I like the climb in fantasy. Like I can't wait till we're at like 100K and we become one of the biggest players in the industry. Don't get me wrong, like I'm waiting for that moment at the same time. But I also like that people sometimes come across the content and they're like, bro, you said you didn't like Saquon at all. You were concrete about it. You said, where's my megaphone? Right there. You said no Saquon, and now you're saying Saquon. Hypocrite. Let me make it clear for any new viewer right now. Every single player in fantasy football, including Kadarius Toney, has a line in the sand where they have no value here to me. No value here to me. Then a line in the sand. So still no value here. But right here, here's the line in the sand. They flip into amazing value potentially. Every player in fantasy football has a line in the sand. The question is, does said player like Barkley or Kadarius Toney have a shot in the dark of being ever at a point where my line in the sand is possible? Probably not. Why? Because Barkley's ADP is so much higher than my comfortable line in the sand level. It just doesn't feel possible. So Kadarius Toney, very much more likely to be a player I'm drafting when I say stay away from him, and then you start seeing him going like round 8 or something, and I'm like, you know what? He's got upside. Take him. A guy like Barkley, if he fell to late 3rd, I would probably like him because his risk would be baked in. So it's all about risk versus reward, and that's how I value everything. So just so you know, if you ever see Barkley flipping into a buy, it's because his ADP changed beyond belief. Josh McDaniels, Raiders hire. Look, this is a considered to be a good offensive mind. You know, potential difference maker here. He goes to Denver, though. Botches the Denver situation. Tied to Tim Tebow, though. You know, like, you can't really shake that. But, he's not fully in charge of decision-making and personnel, which is good. So if McDaniels is going to succeed here, it's good because he is in a position to be the head coach. He's not doing too much like he did in Denver, because when McDaniels was in Denver, the last time he got a head coaching job and a run at this thing, he bit off way more than he could chew. It kind of reminds me in a small way about Shanahan and how Shanahan struggled in the beginning of the year in San Francisco. He has too much responsibility to focus on calling plays, which is what his bread and butter is. I feel very similar, very, very similar about Josh McDaniels in Denver. Just way too much going on. That's why he failed. But here's the thing, and I know this isn't a popular take because Derek Carr is easy to like. But I feel like this, just like I don't think Dable can succeed with Danny Dimes as the quarterback. Daniel Jones and Dable's not going to have the turnaround and revival of Daniel Jones's career like he did with Josh Allen. He needs another quarterback to do that, and that could happen. Like, let me make it very clear: Dable could bring in Tyler Huntley as the backup, and let's say Tyler Huntley doesn't get a starting job. I think he should get a starting job, but crazier things have happened. Let's say Dable brings in Tyler Huntley, and we're like, oh my God, he's got a quarterback. He does. No one knows it yet, but he's got a quarterback. Like, Dable could take Tyler Huntley and turn the Giants around rather quickly. Can he do it with Daniel Jones? If he just says Daniel Jones and he doesn't ever replace him, I believe he'll fail. But I believe he gets the benefit of the doubt to not be tied only to Daniel Jones. He probably will get more than a year to try and turn this thing around. So how can we judge him and say with certainty Dable can't do it? Dable's not that kind of hire. He's a promising hire that could turn it around. A lot of people say Mitchell Trubisky, Cliff. A lot of people. Could he turn, and I'm not saying I agree with that, but people say it. Could he turn this thing around and some of the turnaround not be on the team right now? Yeah, you got to give him that kind of credit. Eberflus, Hackett, Dable, all three of them are good hires. Are the pieces in place? Who knows? There's tons of coaches that leave situations where the pieces aren't in place, the fit doesn't work. Look at Bruce Arians, and then he goes to Tampa from Arizona and starts, Super Bowl runs. That's how that works. It doesn't mean that the coach was bad. It wasn't a good fit. The pieces weren't in place. So Dable has a shot. Hackett has a shot. Eberflus has a shot. McDaniels has a shot, but I don't think Carr's the guy. I think Carr is only good enough to get you a playoff spot. I don't think Carr is good enough to win multiple playoff games. I just don't see it. Therefore, it's my opinion, my humble opinion, that this probably won't work out for McDaniels. Not to mention we've seen it not work out before. McDaniels is good, I think, in a certain role. I don't know if he's a good head coach. We'll see how that works out. Kevin O'Connell from the Rams, now the Vikings head coach, is interesting. I feel like this could work out. I feel like the Vikings have a lot of weapons. You know how much I love Justin Jefferson. I mean, Cousins is not my favorite, but maybe they get a Tyler Huntley as well. Maybe they figure out a longer-term quarterback situation, and it doesn't have to happen right now. He will have time. The team's still good enough to win and maybe crack up, grab a playoff spot, lose in round one in a wild card game, and still be very promising for the next year, and they develop the quarterback. But it's a good hire. Like, none of these hires so far, Eberflus to the Bears, Hackett to the Broncos, Dable to the Giants, and McDaniels to the Raiders, are bad setup from the start situations. They could all work out if the right pieces get put in place. Yeah, Cliff, there are some obstacles for Minnesota, sure. Here's where I feel like it's not going to work. Number one, I don't like Doug Peterson as much as a lot of other people, and I know this man was recently in a Super Bowl. And when I said that he needed to be fired from Philly, everyone was at first up in arms. Like, this is a man that just went to the Super Bowl like the year prior, and you want him gone, and I was calling for him to be removed, and, I wish him well. I always wish these guys well. Like, I don't want anybody I don't want anybody ultimately to lose their job, but, like, when you're doing analysis like this, like, you gotta say, I'd like him to move somewhere else, move him around the league. Now he has, and now I'm back. I'm back here telling you it probably won't work out. Like, the Jaguars have a lot of problems, okay? A lot of problems. I know a lot of people want to say Doug Peterson, that's good for ETN, and I want to say it too. I believe ETN and J.K. Dobbins are very much comparable to a lot of people. They're right on that same level. And I often get asked, hey, Smitty, do you like ETN or J.K. more as a quietly amazing secret weapon running back 2 for fantasy football 2022? And my answer is always going to be ETN, because J.K. Dobbins is coming back from an ACL tear. He's coming back as an injury-prone player already who tore his ACL, that faced a lot of will he hold up or will he bust anyway, and now he's got to fight back through an ACL tear and try and maintain and hold a job where there's probably going to be good competition and there's a rotation anyway, on top of having a quarterback that also runs the ball, that vultures a lot of the touchdowns. It is a recipe for disappointment, and you just can't come back from an ACL tear at 100% that first year. Even though Adrian Peterson did it, you can never really expect it from anybody. Barkley would have been the closest player to ever probably do it, based on his physical skill and the quad strength, which is so tied to a tight knee joint after an ACL tear. And this man's quad and muscles wrapping this knee would keep that knee tight feeling, something you could trust more, something to allow you to cut quicker. And he was behind schedule, and who knows, I really think we're going to find out why later, as to why Barkley was so far behind schedule when he's one of the most fit and gifted, physically gifted running backs in the NFL. Why was he so far behind schedule? There has to be a reason for it. He should have been way ahead of schedule. His quad muscles and physical, sheer physical ability and talent and structure of his body, and the lower body especially, and the muscles around and above the knee, there's no reason for him to have been behind unless there was something that we don't know about. You can't expect J.K. Dobbins, out of all players, to come back and be this elite running back that has no competition, that's not getting vulture touchdowns. ETN has much more upside. The problem, though, with both of them now, because I already doubt JK enough to invest high draft capital in him, Doug Peterson deploys running back by committees. Doug Peterson is probably going to find a way, whether it doesn't matter what running back. We heard that Miles Sanders was going to finally break out, not this last year, but the year prior, right? In 2020, Doug Peterson was still there, and people said this is going to be Miles Sanders' year. Who's going to take it from him? Who? There's nobody there. He finds ways to use running backs, multiple running backs. He's a multiple running back by committee type of approach. And as much as I want to believe in ETN, and I would take him at a certain point, I do like his value at a certain point. That line in the sand is very important. I might love ETN if other people fear the same thing and his ADP drops to like low end running back 3 value. I could see the value in that. ETN's a very talented player. Arguably one of the best pass catchers across any position in his class coming into that NFL draft. Very, very, very likable prospect for sure. So I'm excited. I don't know that I love Doug Peterson. In this situation. It could work, I suppose, but he's going to have to be carried a little bit by his quarterback. So Lawrence has to be much more matured and further along this year, which could happen. And I still like Lawrence a lot. I think he's a leader. I think he's just been in kind of a bad spot. I just don't like this Jaguars team as a whole. There's not a lot of like superstar power on it other than Lawrence on either side of the football. Like, it just feels very light. And I don't know that I feel it stepping up and overplaying and playing at a much higher level than we all expect. I think it's going to be a rough season for the Jaguars. I think we'll see a lot of promise in Trevor Lawrence, but it's going to be a rough year. And Doug Peterson, maybe he doesn't last long enough to see this thing through. Yeah, O-line, defensive playmakers, they need a wide receiver. Jacksonville's in trouble. Jacksonville's not like this one coaching move away. These other moves, they feel like they have more potential to stick. Here's another one that I'm sorry. This is just how I feel. But this Texans hire of Lovie Smith was done out of pressure. It was. Plain and simple. And there's a lot of facts to back that up. Lovie Smith the last time he was coaching was in college just recently, and it was a disaster. I forget what team he even coached for. It's like, Louisiana, I don't know what it was. I can't even remember because he was not relevant. Lovie Smith is literally coming out of an unsuccessful college situation recently and coming into this situation as a head coach, a placeholder, because the team was scared by the league and the pressures to make another horrible decision. Like, make no mistake about it, this team wanted to make an awful decision in hiring a former quarterback in the NFL, Josh McCown, who had no head coaching experience. They wanted to make this awful hire, and they were pressured to not make the awful hire and to make another awful hire because of the pressures going on in the NFL right now, and they draft Lovie Smith. Illinois. Horrible decision. That's based on fact. That has nothing to do with anything at all other than Lovie Smith is not ready, or ever really was in any recent sort of the sense, to be a head coach of a football team. Like, this is like, okay, we don't want to win this year. Let's bring in Josh McCown. Excellent call, Danny. Consider it done. Has he ever coached? No, don't worry about it. We'll teach him. We'll teach him everything he knows. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, this is the league. You can't do that. That is a bad move. We won't have it. Okay, hold on. Who else can we hire? Okay, get the hat, Danny. Lovie Smith. We'll hire Lovie Smith. Thank you. There's no options for this team to turn it around. They don't have they're going to be trading Deshaun Watson. Now, if maybe something gets orchestrated where like Kyler goes to Houston, Deshaun comes to the Cardinals, they have a shot at trying to build around a young kid in Kyler, developing him, and maybe they start making good moves. Maybe Lovie completely surprises me. But I do know, whether I'm right or wrong about Lovie, I'm right in that they were pressured, this team, to make this move. They didn't want to make it. They wanted to make another bad move and elevate, not elevate, but place Josh McCown at the head of 53 men because he's played quarterback. It was not a good move either way. Dennis Allen to the New Orleans Saints. This is a dumpster fire of a situation that I don't think any coach is going to be able to navigate well, especially if the team is forced to cut Alvin Kamara or put him on or deactivate him for the year, or if the league puts him on the exempt list and makes that decision for him. Would not shock me at all. And I got to keep pulling up my news as I do these shows because the news has been crazy and stuff could be breaking as we speak. A lot of times you guys let me know, but I wouldn't be shocked if they end up cutting him if more news keeps unfolding. But this news is bad. I know they don't want to cut him. I feel like they don't want to cut him, but I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to cut him. And I know a lot of people think that's crazy, but crazy things happen all the time. And this is a league that doesn't just want to slap his wrist. When people say that, I'm like, what world do you live in? This is not, and I don't say this from a place of the NFL has progressed and is so much better than it used to be in terms of dealing with, situations and drama. I'm not saying that at all by making this statement. But what world do you live in where you think the NFL is going to try and put Alvin Kamara on the field because they want him on the field? They don't care about one player. When the player has a horrible image, running Alvin Kamara out onto the field doesn't help the NFL make more money. It hurts the NFL, potentially losing sponsors because sponsors will pull out the moment this kid hits the field again, and this whole drama is going on. And he was arrested. Here's the thing. He was arrested. This is not like the Dalvin Cook situation, okay, where there's accusations and people trying to piece together something that may or may not have been a crime before. No police were called. We're trying to piece it together. That's completely different. Completely different than a situation where Alvin Kamara was actually arrested. The police report validates the victim's claims, and the video footage is that validation. And we know Alvin Kamara's account of the situation, and it didn't reveal anything like, I knew there was another side of this story. Alvin Kamara's story pretty much made it worse, if you ask me. Because Alvin Kamara basically said he was trying to run away, and no. You're not getting away from this. That's what Alvin Kamara did. He basically said the guy tried to run away. That's why he kept striking him. In my opinion, that makes it worse. You can't hit a person running away. So Alvin Kamara's account didn't solve anything. People are like, wait till two sides of the story, Smitty. Welcome to the show, Alvin Kamara Dynasty owner. I realize why you're taking your stance, the stance you're taking, but let's get back to reality. Alvin Kamara was arrested for felony battery. He was arrested for felony battery. I don't want to hear this. I hear a lot of people saying he'll pay fine, slap on the wrist, he'll be back in June. He was arrested. Do you know that even if everything got dropped, the footage was faked, whatever, he was arrested for getting in a fight. And even if dropped, the league would come down on him just for the mere fact that he was arrested. They will suspend him 4 to 6 games, most likely, for just being arrested, without taking into account the other severities downstream from this thing. And not to mention, there's a chance that he faces jail time. Like, do I think he'll end up being in jail for this? Probably not. Although I wouldn't rule it out, because Vegas is tired of people coming into this town and making them look bad because it costs them money. Set an example. Get in a brawl, beat someone up that's unconscious and keep hitting them. Guess what's going to happen? We're going to bring the full extent of the law against you to prove points, because this is our town, and I'm speaking as if I'm a Vegas person. This is our town, and you're not going to come in and make people not want to come here. Look at people already talking about it. Widespread. Vegas is undefeated, in a bad way. Or Vegas is the problem. Or nobody should go to Vegas. These players shouldn't go to Vegas. They shouldn't have the NFL draft, which is in Vegas this year. They shouldn't have it in Vegas. That costs them money. They don't want to mess around with that. They're not going to put up with this stuff. So for people to think that this will get just kind of pushed to the side legally, oh, he's Alvin Kamara, he'll sign a few autographs and they'll just let him walk out of the jail. No. Vegas and the NFL and the Saints don't want this for the PR reasons. So no slap on the wrist and he's out there and might get 1 or 2 games. Just no, like 4 to 6 for just getting arrested. The fact that it was a felony battery where this man was unconscious and he was literally kicked 7, 8, 9, 10 kicked and punched 7, 8, 9, 10 times on the ground while unconscious, according to the police report and the footage, that the man appeared to be passed out and they just kept hitting him. And Alvin Kamara was confirmed to be one of the people striking while the man was down already. I say, and this is my opinion, he is done for the year. Now, whether he returns or not, I don't even know. I don't know that I can go there yet, but I feel like at very minimum, it could be half of a season. Like maybe something to where it's like 10 games and then he appeals, or I don't know why he would appeal. I think he'll be advised not to appeal, and I don't even know if he can. Like, I don't know how it's going to work with this exact situation, but let's say it's like 10 games or something, or, a lot of time goes by before they hand down a half a season. Like, could that happen? I suppose, but if I'm banking on a number, it's the season. Like anything else would be surprising to me. Like, would it completely shock me if he never played again, or would it completely shock me if he was only suspended 4 to 6 games? I guess the NFL has surprised me before, so would I be ultimately shocked? I guess not, but I would be more shocked than not, I guess, if he wasn't out for at least half the year to the season. So be prepared to not have Alvin Kamara. back to the Saints and wrapping this all up with the Saints coaching job and everything. Alvin Kamara is probably off the board for this team at the running back position. Mike Thomas probably wants to trade more than ever now. Dude probably will demand a trade. Or if he doesn't, how is he even looking? Like, is Mike Thomas ever going to return to form? I don't even know. What's the quarterback situation going to be like? Does this team have a shot at more than 4 wins in 2022? I don't know that they do. Dennis Allen, good coach or not, however you want to defend his ability to turn a team around. This is like walking into a gym, taking over a head basketball job, and there's literally like no players in there. You have 4 people on the court, and you're supposed to play 5-on-5 at 6 p.m., and you've got 4 players. That's what it feels like. Dennis Allen's walking into an impossible situation. Why would you take this job? Why would you even think about taking it? You're going to play 5-on-5 and you're given 4 players. That's how it feels. Maybe even 3. You literally have to ask one of the parents to come out and play. You might have to ask Josh McCown to come out of retirement from coaching and come play quarterback for this team. I don't know. That's my breakdown of the NFL coaching new hires. This news right here, NFL announced Germany will host a regular season game each of the next 4 seasons. I mean, I don't mean to sound like selfish here, but like, do we need to be putting our player, like, how much of a money generator is this? I assume it's a huge money generator. Like, I assume that's why, but obviously, but like, do we need to be putting our players on planes and like, these are low scoring games. I don't mean to sound selfish, but why? Why must we endure this? The times of the games you're not even up to watch the game. And it's like, why take them away from us? This is taking games away from us fans. I don't even understand it. I'm not for it. I don't care how that sounds. Speaking Wednesday, Falcons owner Arthur Blank said he would love for Calvin Ridley to remain with the team in 2022. We don't know what's going on with this situation. I would say they need him. But he could be on the move. He definitely could be on the move. He's unhappy. We don't even know the full extent to what transpired with him personally and why he took time off. So I would probably say plan on it being like a 50-50 call that he stays in Atlanta. He's still got a boatload of talent. We got to remember that taking a year off hurts, but we also got to remember that this guy's got so much talent that at the beginning of the season, like, it's hard to admit this, right? But we all felt it. Let's just admit it. Let's be honest. Everybody put honesty on the table here. We thought this guy had top 5 wide receiver potential walking into 2021. Walking into last year, we thought this man may be a top 5 wide receiver, top 5 to 7. We all admitted it. Okay? So let's not all pretend that we didn't think this about this man. We did. The question is, can he ever return to form? I don't know. It depends on, I guess, his situation. Depends on where he is mentally. If he's back, if he's happy, if he's remotivated, if he's working hard, if he looks good, if he goes to an offense where there's a good quarterback. I don't know that I love this situation for him. I feel like maybe a fresh start could do him some good. Maybe pair him with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. But he's an interesting fantasy football prospect because I guess the question is, where do you guys see him going? Like, predict a couple landing spots. Where would Ridley go team-wise if he was to get traded? And second of all, where let me pull something up here on Ridley. Where do you see him going in fantasy football drafts? We love the young man, said Blank, talking about Ridley. He has a great history in Atlanta. We love him to stay in Atlanta. Whether or not he wants to do that, he may decide that he wants a fresh start somewhere else. We don't know. We don't know that. My I don't have information to indicate that, but we'll see how it plays out. We've been totally supportive in every way that we can, emotionally and financially, and working with him as well as his agent. We'll see, but I'm mostly concerned about him as a human being. Ridley spent most of 2021 season away from the team for personal reasons relating to mental health. There's been speculation that the Falcons could trade Ridley this offseason as he heads into his final year of his deal, which is why he can pretty much not demand a trade, but if he asks for a trade, they want to get something from him. The last thing they want is him to be like, you're not going to trade me, I don't want to play anymore. Because then they get nothing. So they're definitely willing to work on something. Plus, they probably feel pretty burned that he walked away. Whether you want to admit that might affect the team or not, they're going to feel like, hey, you left us hanging. You could have told us and give us some preparation lead time, and you just walked away. We kind of would like to get rid of you if we can, So it's good that they're coming out and publicly supporting him, but he could be traded. I'm curious where you guys think he could land. Chargers would be a good spot, Zachary. I like that a lot. Tampa, if Godwin leaves, I don't like that because who's throwing the football? Might it be Jimmy G? Could that's going. We're going to talk about for the last 7 minutes. Is this Tom Brady news in a second? But yeah, Chargers would be great. But where are you guys drafting him in fantasy? If you had to decide right now, where are you drafting him? Are you drafting him in like the 6th round? Not even close, like later or earlier? Like, hit me with a number. What pick would you actually spend? Like a 5.9, a 6.4? I would love to know. As you guys answer that question, we'll pull up this second to last piece of news and then head into the final topic of the show. Jameis Winston doesn't expect to sign with the Bucs. That was a thought. Jameis Winston to Mike Evans. BW says 5th or 6th round for him in regards to Ridley. Zachary says I take him in round 4 or 5 turn, but doubt he lasts that long. I don't know. We've done mocks and he hasn't been going to round 5, bro. I'm not touching Ridley, period. That's kind of why. I think a lot of people feel that way. I'm waiting to see what Ridley thinks of any moves. Head case. I have to draft next week. Won't touch him before the 8th round. So I disagree that 4 or 5. You say you don't think he'll last. I think he will. Winston, no Tampa Bay, he says. No Tampa Bay. Some are linking Kyler Murray to Tampa Bay, but I can tell you that's just people spreading rumors because the Cardinals are not going to trade Kyler Murray unless we get a quarterback in return. Unless they do what I've suggested, get Tyler Huntley. I know everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I really like him. Get Tyler Huntley. And if you get a ton in trade for Kyler to help build this team, the Cardinals could still compete and be very good under Tyler Huntley. But I'm a little weird. I like Tyler Huntley more than a lot of people. I think he has a lot of potential. And I think a lot of people felt that way too, but they're a little scared to say it. Or they let one game, his final game, where he did look bad. He looked great before, but he had a bad game, and everybody's like, yeah, I didn't like him. I have no part of Tyler Huntley after that game. But I like Tyler Huntley. I think Tyler Huntley's got a lot of upside. David says he's out. He's not going after. I think he's saying he's out on Ridley, not that he's out and not going to watch the rest of the show. I'm not sure. Maybe you can clarify, David. Hit the like button on your way in, please. Please punch that like button. Last piece of news. 5 minutes and 3 seconds left in the show, so let's kick it off strong. Or end it strong. Tom Brady appearing on a podcast Monday night. When asked he considered coming out of retirement, Tom said, "You never know." This is not new news, but this is the most recent news on Tom, so I wanted to bring it up on screen and place it on screen so that we could talk about this next piece of information. There's a lot of people talking about where Tom Brady could go if this you never know were to play out. There are literally a couple scenarios, one of them specifically, and it's the 49ers, and a lot of people are going to say it's crazy, it can't happen. People said that about him going to Tampa. People said that about him retiring. People said that about him in 100 different ways. I truly believe that Tom Brady, if he comes back, one of the only, not the only, but one of the only spots that he could go to would be the 49ers. He's had a childhood dream of playing for the 49ers. I get he's been shunned by him. Shanahan made a dumb statement, and this is part of why I don't love Shanahan. He's a great play caller. He's a great mind, but he steps on his own you-know-what all the time. And he's horrible with quarterback personnel decisions. And I know you could say, well, Smitty, you love Trey Lance. I don't even know if Trey Lance was fully his guy. Like, I know he was excited about him. He made a lot of statements about it. I get all that, okay? So I don't need the Wednesday or the Thursday morning quarterback comments like, Smitty, you obviously aren't paying attention. There's a lot of those comments last time I talked about Trey Lance. You obviously aren't paying attention. He was Shanahan's guy. He talked about it in a press conference before. Like, I get all that, but I'm telling you, I don't know that I buy everything that I read or hear, bro. And I'm saying, I wonder if Shanahan really believes Trey's his guy, because he literally didn't use him all year when he should have. Trey Lance should have started week 1, and I don't care who tells me that's not accurate. I don't care how many people come to me and tell me he wasn't ready, Smitty. He had to learn to read defenses. He needed to do this. He needed to do that. I don't care. I don't care. I don't agree with you, so stop. Whoever's about to comment and say, Trey was not the better option than Jimmy, you're crazy. I don't care. I don't even want to have the conversation anymore. Trey was better. Trey should have started week 1. Trey's better than Jimmy G. Trey could have won that game against the Rams. I don't care what anybody else thinks. That's how I feel. And you're not going to change my mind. I feel like Shanahan may not be married to the idea of Trey Lance, because he would have used him. If this was his idea and his baby, he would have put the baby in the game, but he didn't. He avoided it at all costs. Even when it made sense, even when Jimmy G hurt his thumb, even when Jimmy G hurt his shoulder, even when Jimmy G hurt his pride, Jimmy G was not 100% or even close to it, but Kyle still didn't play the young kid. Yeah, anyone's better than Jimmy G. You sent a super chat? I'm sorry, pal. Let me find that. My bad, Terry. Terry dropped a super chat. Thank you, Terry. Smitty, here you go, bro. You're the man. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry. Every time I hear Terry, I appreciate it. Every time I hear Terry say this, I don't know why. He says, "Here you go, bro." I picture Terry crumbling it up and just throwing at me, like. And here comes. I don't know why. Here you go, bro. Thanks, Terry. I love Terry. Terry's the man. Terry's the man. Terry's like the, I don't know, the honorary statesman of the show. The honorary statesman. Thanks, Terry. Here you go. I love Terry. Where were we at? And I never mind getting hit with a $5 bill, Terry. You throw it at me anytime you want. Terry's the man. Okay, so last thing I'm going to say here, because we are running out of time. Tom Brady, if he returns, I believe this is a scenario. Boyhood dream, play for the Niners. Niners are set up to win. Deebo Samuel, Kittle. Maybe Kittle's involved in the deal, though, or something, because it's tough to imagine it happening. But Jimmy G, Raj and I talked on this on his live stream, and this is, whoa. We're out of time, but let me hit the music one more time. Raj said he didn't want this, but it was a possibility, and it makes sense. Jimmy G and Kittle for Brady's rights and Gronkowski, so that Brady could bring Gronk over. And whether you want it or not, like, that's not what he's saying he wants, but it seems like that's the kind of way Brady operates. You know, bring over my guy Gronk, and we're going to do this. We're going to do it right. I figure he'll want to bring Gronk with him, and it does make kind of sense. But Brady going to the Niners guarantees the Niners, if let's say Brady plays 2 years, it guarantees the Niners, I think, one Super Bowl in those 2 years. I feel like it's a lock. Almost a lock. Nothing's a lock, but it's almost a lock. Like, and do I want that for Trey? Do I want that for Trey? Yes and no. I mean, learning under Brady's going to have its advantages. He is 21, turning 22. There is some thinking to that Trey's not going to be held back that much if he's playing under Brady. So I feel like I'm okay with Trey sitting a year if it's Brady, and I think Brady would win a Super Bowl. And I don't think it takes like a fantasy quarterback out of play because Brady would still be so good in fantasy in that offense with Debo and Kittle and Mitchell and all that we wouldn't be robbed of fantasy production, and Trey would still be there to learn. I hope it's Trey. I really feel like Trey is a top 5 to 7 fantasy quarterback in 2022. I truly believe that in my bones, in my gut, this is a top 5 to 7 quarterback. Right away, right out of the gate. You can at me all you want. But either way, the Niners are looking good. And I'm not a Niner fan. I'm a Niner supporter. Like, I support them. I'm on a Niner show. I'm obviously always pulling for the Niners for my people, unless they're playing the Cardinals or the Bengals. So good dilemma not to be in for the Super Bowl, because I would probably be pulling for the Bengals. Don't tell anybody. But yeah, I mean, Brady, if Brady is lured out, like the thing is going to be timing, because Brady can't be doing this in August and then the Niners be like, okay, yeah, we'll just take Trey right out. Like, it's got to happen in the next month or two, or whatever, 3 at the most, like month or 2 probably. It's got to happen sooner versus later if he's going to walk in and become the starter walking into week 1. The other option is that somebody gets hurt. Brady's rights get traded for something big so that Tampa doesn't lose out. Tampa's going to trade him if he wants to be traded. Like, Tampa's going into rebuild mode. And they get nothing for Brady, or they get something for Brady's rights, and I think they'll do it. And I think the other team that's acquiring Brady will make it worth their while. So it's not like it's going to be, us giving a player away. They're going to have to pay to get Brady, and it will help Tampa Bay further execute their plan of rebuilding. So it's going to come down to, does Brady want to do it sooner versus later? Will he get the phone call? Hey, this is Kyle Shanahan. Remember when I accidentally said that you were only marginally better than Jimmy G? I didn't mean it. It was a joke. Came out wrong. Why don't you pack your bags, head over here, and we will have Debo Samuel meet you at the airport. He'll pick you up with the boombox. We'll walk you to to a nice little restaurant, wine and dine you, show you what it's all about. We'll boombox the entire way into the restaurant, out of the restaurant. We'll take care of it. This for sure would be the scenario that gets Brady out of retirement. I don't see any other scenario pulling him out of retirement. This is his one thing he hasn't accomplished. And if you think for 1 minute Brady's not going to want to be unretired, every minute, a little bit more unretired, every minute he gets toward week 1, you're crazy. You don't retire, struggle with the decision weeks before the divisional loss, which really triggered all this. Weeks before the divisional loss, or even that week. I don't know when the interview took place, but he said, I can't imagine retiring at the level of play that I'm playing at right now. I can only imagine it was a fresh interview because it was at like the halftime of the game, and they wouldn't take an outdated interview and play it at half. He's talking about the game. So I think it was that week that Tom Brady did the interview, and he said basically, I couldn't imagine walking away. He didn't say maybe we'll see. I couldn't imagine walking away at this high level that I'm playing. One game happens, he wants to retire. Does anybody think that negative downturn of wanting to retire? And I'm not saying family's negative or that he's not spending time with his family, but let's get real. This guy's not going to be he's going to be doing other things too. He can't stay still. No one can. He's been doing this for 22 years. He's not going to I'm just going to stay at home all day. Now, he's going to get busy with the Brady brand, and he's going to be staying so busy, he's going to go, this isn't really that much different. I'm keeping busy all the time. Why don't I just go play football again? He's going to get the itch. It's going to happen. So it's just a matter of, will he actually scratch it, or will he let the itch continue? hold off and then regret it, but not do anything about it. Because if he holds out the whole year, he's probably not coming back the next year. He's too old to take a year off and come back. As a Niner, he would be a top 5 to 6, 7 fantasy quarterback. As a Niner starting quarterback, Trey will be a top 5, 6, 7 fantasy quarterback. Niners are in good hands regardless. I know that's what a lot of Niner fans want to hear, and it's the truth. You have an elite squad with elite quarterbacks set up no matter which way this goes. I appreciate all of you. Hit the like button, please, and comment on the way out the door. I will hit end, and I will respond to almost every single comment. I will try my best between now and the next 24 hours. Drop a comment. I will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace out.